Keeping your head. Welcome. The place of mindfulness in everyday life. The place of mindfulness in helping us, especially in those times that are really tough when we feel squeezed, stressed, pressurized, prone to flare up, vulnerable to those things which we would prefer not to be vulnerable or so vulnerable to. And some basic questions. Hope that I'm able to in this very short presentation and practice, just a light on these questions. One of the leading Western teachers of mindfulness practice and of all that it can bring to your life and to enrich your life, to support you in your life, to improve the quality of your life, and therefore the quality of your relationships, the world that you are in, where you are in it, and then beyond, like ripples. Sam Harris, who has an app called Waking Up, which I would recommend. It is a subscription-based app, and it's not cheap, but you can access it on YouTube or a version of it there. And when I tried it, I got a month free, and that was enough for me, but it was good just to dip into it. The founder of that app, Sam Harris, says this: your mind is the basis of everything you experience and of every contribution you make to the lives of others. Given this fact, it makes sense to train it. And that's what we are going to take to heart from this little presentation today. I came to this realization some years ago and started to practice daily mindfulness meditation in the knowledge that because my brain is susceptible to change, which can be created by a certain way of using my brain regularly and routinely, using my brain in a way that is different to how I have always conventionally used my brain. So by practicing mindfulness meditation, begin to sort of rewire the connections, train my brain so that I might change my experience. And by changing my experience, I mean I might have more choice over how I respond to what's going on in my life, especially when it gets tough. So I won't be so triggered and therefore react in a way that I might regret or that might be harmful inside. And we'll come to that in a moment. But, you know, the way the nervous system and the brain sit together, for better or for worse. It might be better for me inside, it might be better for me outside, and in my life generally. So I thought best thing to do actually is to experience a little meditation, just nine minutes. It sounds like a lot, but it will go, if you're not used to it, it might sound like a lot, but it'll pass. It'll pass because every 3 minutes there'll be a bell. And when you hear the bell, you know where you are and you're reminded of what it is we're doing. And I will talk through the meditation. Meditations can be guided. It can be a guided practice. It's very normal to do it like that, especially when you're setting out, perhaps, on a practice and getting used to it. And you may have questions about it. And the guide can bring those questions very gently into the meditation script, as it were. You know, is my mind's racing? Is that, quotes, normal? Yeah, can be. But in a meditation script, the guide might say, "Yeah, and if your brain is racing, that's okay. That's to be expected." So we open up the practice by, and with the help of some guidance. So let's try it. I've got this little practice here. A bell will ring will ring at 3 minutes and 6 minutes, and then at 9 minutes there'll be 3 bells to end our practice. And the reason that I want us to do this is that this practice takes us where we need to go in this presentation, because it gives you an experience of using your brain, or training your brain to be with you in this moment, in your body, and for you to practice being aware of what is actually going on, not what you think or fear is going on, not and not being so unaware of what you're thinking and feeling. Is, that's not, if it threatens to overwhelm you, well, it may well overwhelm you and you may drown in it. Whereas meditation practice is a way of treading that water and just feeling that water on your body, and just, oh, that's interesting. Mhm. You become an observer. You become an observer rather than a participant in those racing thoughts. Let's try it. Let's try it. So, feet on the floor, hands empty and open in your lap. Find a posture that you feel relaxed with, but alert at the same time. I like just to sit fairly upright, but when I'm in my comfy chair, I put my back against the chair. You can do that. You can lie down if you want to. When you're ready, just close your eyes, and the first bell will be where we begin. So there'll be one bell to start, another bell for the midway point, and a ring of 3 bells to finish. So we found a posture, I hope by now, that we're comfortable to sit with, and I would invite you to lightly close your eyes. And the first thing I want you to do is to pay attention to your breathing, and please breathe through your nose if you can. And remember, we're training our brain to pay attention in a certain way. And that certain way is going to help us to be where we are, just as we are, without any judgment, just learning to accept where we are, how we are, who we are, what we are, just as we are. And it's our breathing for a moment that can bring us here, because the breath is always present. So let's use that to our advantage. And when you breathe in, what I want you to do is to notice you are breathing in. This is very important. And when you breathe out, notice you are breathing out. And if this is new and novel, that's good. Pay attention to how it feels in your nose as the air enters and leaves. Are there any sounds? That's all you have to do. And the same, if you're used to practicing like this, it's the same, isn't it? When you breathe in, just for now, notice you are breathing in. When you breathe out, notice you're breathing out. That's the first 3-minute bell. There will be one more 3-minute bell. Meanwhile, with this breath in, I notice I am breathing in. And out, I notice that too. What is the temperature of the air in your nostrils as the air enters and leaves? What do you notice that you notice? What is the length of each breath? What is its nature? Is it smooth or is it sort of rough? Relish the experience of breathing in and noticing that you are breathing in your very life. You can even sigh it out too. So the point is, we're training our attention to stay with each breath in and out. We can say the word in when we breathe in if it helps, or out when we breathe out if it helps. Or you can put your hand on your tummy and feel it rise and fall, in and out. Now, let's wait for the second bell. Focusing on our breath. And let the bell remind us of our intention here. That's part of the practice too. That's the routine. That's the discipline. That's the technique. The bell reminds us we are here to pay attention to each breath we take. Now, the key final step in our little practice, your mind will wander. They always do. And we accept that very kindly, without judgment. We've not done anything, so to speak, wrong. The mind will go to worrying about something from yesterday or further back, or something that is approaching, or things to do, or things we said. The key thing to do when you notice your mind has gone there is to say, "Oh, that's good. I've noticed. I'm thinking. It's just a thought. It's only a thought." And then, as best you can, come back and catch the next breath you take. Leave the thought and come back again, because it's only a thought. It's not real. You're not actually in that place, in that moment. You're in this moment, in this place, and here you are breathing and noticing each breath you take. And we do that even if we have to do it many times. And when you're ready, open your eyes and come back to me and the rest of our time together in this little presentation. Just to say before we move on, I found that video on YouTube. Mindfulness bell that rings every 3 minutes for 15 minutes, but you can find all kinds of things, as you know, for better or for worse, on YouTube. Okay, there's a little graphic here just to explain what's happening in your body when you practice mindfulness in that way, and the benefits that are spelt out here will come to you each time you practice. And the more that you practice, the more that these benefits will come to you, begin to come to you in a very natural way, almost without thinking about it. You do, though, have to notice to begin with, and then just focus on your breath, even if it's just for 1 or 2 breaths, standing at a supermarket checkout, waiting in turn. Somebody cuts in front of you, or on the road, and something happens, and you're prone to rage. Or at home, you've had a difficult day, and you're home now, and you just want to be your best. Maybe a few little breaths, deep breaths, before you enter, noticing your breathing. We'll switch on what is called the excuse me, the parasympathetic nervous system on the right there in the mauve, the purple color. You're taking the wiring in your brain, which is usually on the circuit shown in green, which is fast moving, and it's all caught up in fight, flight, or freeze. Much sort of primordial, much more primordial. It's much more ancestral. It was the deepest, oldest part of the brain was developed in the days when our survival depended on fighting and fleeing and freezing, because we were literally preyed upon. So we're programmed that way, but what we're actually trying to do is use a different part of our brain or different parts of the brain, or use those parts of the brain that we know through neuroscience research are a part of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is a relaxation response. So we're moving from the stress response, the former response, into the purple box, the relaxation response. Lots of benefits there. Just let you have a look. This graphic, as you can see, was prepared for children. It's good to know that children are being taught about this. I never was. My generation never was. Okay. So becoming aware of how you are in your body at any given time is mindfulness practice. Being aware how you are in your body, in yourself, in moments of stress, and noticing that opens a door, and going through that door, you're going into a place where, by focusing on your breathing, you're going to drop down into the place where you switch on the parasympathetic nervous system. But linked to that is another fact. Thoughts are just thoughts. You need to have a way of, it's good to have a way of choosing which thought to go with. And you may want to say, here's an issue, here are all the thoughts. I'm getting a bit stressed up about this. Right, breathe and look. And there are the thoughts. How likely is that? What about that? What about that? What do you notice? What is likely to be the case? Again, you're in the water of it and you're just looking. You're not going under. And I promise you that does happen. The more that you practice and the more that you wake up to this way of living, the more choice you will have over your thoughts. The more choice you will have about how you respond to triggers, the wiser you will be in terms of your actions. And you will find the quality of your life will lift. There'll be more. I felt and I feel that I get more out of my relationships as relationships now, not just for me, but for us together, because I can see how what is stressing them is not necessarily stressing me about an issue on the table. So I'm helping us to address that issue with more clear understanding, free from the the raging thoughts that my partner is being sucked into. If you feel anxious, use your breath. Remember, we're moving from the fight, flight, freeze circuitry in the brain and training our brain to use the parasympathetic nervous system. We're learning the skill of switching to that. We're still acting, but we're taking more perspective. We have more agency, actually, in the end. Okay, I've got a little reading called Habit Energy. I'm going to share that with you. I'll send that to you afterwards. But the guy on the top right of this screen is a Vietnamese Buddhist monk called Thich Nhat Hanh. And he talked about habit energy. And he was explaining how it's best to slow down, take your time. Not if the building's on fire, but even then, don't panic. Next to Thich Nhat Hanh is Bruce Lee, sitting in a cross-legged pose on the floor. One of the people that I was first influenced by as an adult. There's a lovely scene in the film he made called Enter the Dragon, where he's very much in the fight, flight, or freeze domain of his brain because he's fighting with some martial art. He's a martial artist, one of the best ever. And in the scene in the film, he's taking on the baddies, the henchmen, and he's having to bang, 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 bang. I mean, it's ludicrous, really, because he's dealing with dozens of them all on his own, barehanded. And then there's a lull. There's this great scene where there's a lull in the fighting. He knows more is going to come. It's bound to come because he's sort of trapped underground in the bunker, the baddie's bunker. But what does he do? He finds a little quiet spot to sit, and he puts his nunchucks, sort of weapon, around his neck. And he sits down cross-legged, and he just breathes. He's got such poise about him in the heat of battle. Poise. The gentleman on the left of the screen is my grandfather, who I only realize now was a great role model for all of this. He never was, he was very zen, but he was never a mindfulness practitioner. He would have spit out his beer if you said that. Bricklayer, that's what he was, a bricklayer. Worked from the age of 14 to 65 and had 20 years or so of retirement. Died at 86. As a little lad, I used to watch him sometimes, sitting in his chair with no sound, no, the telly, the radio, nothing like that, just the quiet of his little front room. I mean, a tiny front room, and a cuckoo clock just ticking. He had his cap on. He always had his cap on. He's got his arm round the top of his head like that. Cross-legged usually, because he was a thin kind of guy, and he could do that easily. He was quite comfy doing that. And a pipe. He was watching the clouds. He was watching the clouds. He didn't speak much. He didn't say a lot. He used to sing if he'd had a beer or two, but he didn't say a lot. And I think I can only remember him saying a couple of things that were kind of judgmental. For all the time I was with him, up to the age of 40 or whatever, he was a quiet man, a Zen man. Contentment. He had a contentment that I admire. Every Wednesday at 4 o'clock, we have a mindfulness practice online. There are the details. I'll send you the slides later. And we also have a heart and soul page or channel on YouTube. And you can find some mindfulness practice videos there that I've made. I move them around a bit as well. So you get a little bit of difference along the way. So that's the Zoom meeting on Wednesdays at 4 and the YouTube channel. Let's go back to the beginning. Why am I here? To meet you and to hear from you. What do I expect? I expect to have the chance to tell you why mindfulness practice matters to me and the difference it makes in my life for the better. I want you to know that. And what do I want you to take away? Just take a breather, at the very least. Find somewhere to sit, or lie down, or go for a swim, or when you wash the dishes, just notice how that feels. See it all. When you take the opportunity to do it mindfully, see it as an opportunity to do it mindfully and to notice how it feels. What are the sensations? And when your mind goes somewhere else, come back to what you're focusing on. Training your attention, practicing mindful awareness. If it works for you, and you don't have to do it in a quiet, sitting, keeping silent kind of way, you can do it while you're walking, outdoors. You can do it anywhere, anytime you feel the need or anytime you choose. I want you to know that it's worth trying because it improves, for me, it's improved the quality of my life and my relationships. Thank you.